I now call the regular council meeting to order for Tuesday, November 9th, 2021. First item on the agenda, 2.1, adoption of the agenda for this evening. To be amended, please, council, to include in item 6.1, Canadian Geothermal Energy Association, CANGEA, request for support to also include a letter of support addressed to the Western Diversification and Job Creation Fund. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Pearson, discussion. Any questions on the addition? All in favor? It's carried. Item 3.1, adoption of the minutes of the previous regular council meeting being October 26, 2021. Councillor MacLean, Councillor Blanchette, any errors or omissions arising? All in favor? It's carried. Item 3.2, adoption of the previous minutes of the public hearing, October 26, 2021. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Pearson, any errors or omissions arising? All in favor? It's carried. Delegations this evening, we do have some unfinished business under item 5.1. The recommendation here that staff be directed to move forward with the purchase of a podcast episode from the Canadian History EHX in the amount of $250. Councillor Pearson, Councillor MacLean, discussion. Councillor Blanchette.
So I just wanted to ask, so it says that it's open all the time, but do people have to pay to view it, or is it a free view?
It'd be a free view.
Okay.
Yeah. On any subscription podcast that you would normally listen to.
Okay.
Further discussion? All in favor? It's carried. 6.1, we do have a request under correspondence for action from the Canadian Geothermal Association. Request for support. Recommendation here that council supports CANGEA's application for funding through the federal government's Smart Renewables and Electrification Pathways Program and the Western Diversification and Job Creation Fund for a white paper titled Greening Federal Buildings Through Geothermal Heat. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor MacLean, discussion. Again, just a letter of support. They're doing the work.
Good deal.
And it's on a policy paper. So, all in favor? It's carried. Reading file. Is there anything council would like to bring forward? Councillor Blanchette.
So I'd like to bring forward item 11. First is just acknowledgement of correspondence from Joan Chrisselbrink about Community Forest and Policy 81. Thank you for your letter. And item 12 from Dr. DeToy, acknowledgement of his correspondence about vaccination mandates. I just want to acknowledge the correspondence written to us.
Great. Anything else, council? You can see in the item 9, Clean BC Roadmap to 2030, a press release there, as well as the tools to increase housing under item 10 from the Municipal Affairs Statutes Amendments. Anything further? 8.1, administrative reports. Building permit values, October 2021. Recommendation here that the report be received. Councillor Pearson, Councillor MacLean, discussion. All in favor? It's carried. 8.2, bylaw enforcement summary report for October 2021. Report be received. Councillor Pearson, Councillor Blanchette, any discussion? Councillor Blanchette.
It's just nice to see he's got a lot of things that he's been closing off, so that's wonderful.
Excellent. Yeah. Councillor Pearson.
Yeah, just a comment. I mean, it's wonderful the work that's being done. I'm curious on the traffic regulation bylaw where vehicles are being damaged by transport trucks. I know parking is an issue, but more than one incidence of damage seems to be a bit of a problem, so I'm glad we've found a way to deal with that.
Is there any follow-up from staff on that? No?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Actually, the bylaw enforcement is speaking with the owner of the hotel in question and moving forward with some solutions with Public Works.
Further discussion? All in favor? It's carried. 8.3, Centennial Park, parking. Recommendation here that report be received for information. Councillor Pearson, Councillor Blanchette, discussion. Councillor Blanchette.
I just think an ongoing month will make a big difference. A week isn't really long enough to get any information, so.
I think it's all about education as well.
Yeah.
And the fact that there is forward-based parking at the north end of the park as well, which would accommodate further.
Yeah.
Councillor Pearson?
I agree. I mean, well, I think timing is also a factor as we move into less playground-friendly weather, less parking, but I'm hoping come playground season that this works out because it was getting to be a bit of a problem there, so great solution.
Further discussion? All in favor of receipt? It's carried. 8.4, Government of Canada Celebrate Canada Program. Recommendation here, that staff be directed to apply the Government of Canada 2022 Celebrate Canada Program in the amount of $3,000. Councillor Blanchette. Councillor MacLean, discussion. We might even be able to meet in person
Yeah, that's hoping.
by that time. All in favor? It's carried. 8.5, Northern Development Initiative Trust, NDIT, grant writing support, and Valemount Community Forest, VCF, grant writing support. Couple of recommendations here. Number one, staff be directed to apply to a maximum amount of $8,000 for the NDIT grant writing support program for 2022. Councillor Pearson, Councillor Blanchette, discussion. Always good to have partners at NDIT.
And we've been having this partnership for quite a while.
Yeah. All in favor? It's carried. The second recommendation here that staff be directed to request grant writing financial support in the amount of $8,000 from Valemount Community Forest for 2022. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Pearson, discussion. Councillor
Another
Blanchette.
good partnership that we've been doing for quite a while.
Indeed.
Yeah.
All in favor? It's carried. 8.6, have CIB, Columbia Basin Trust Community Initiatives Program and Affected Areas Program Adjudication Committee appointments. We have a recommendation that Shaylin Carlson be appointed and Kurian Thomas be reappointed to the CBT, CIP, AAP Adjudication Committee for a 2-year term. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor MacLean, discussion. Councillor Blanchette.
Just a thank you both to them. That's a really good committee to be on, and I'm happy to see them sign up for it.
Awesome. Further discussion? All in favor? It's carried. We have some council appointments to consider under 8.7. Recommendation that the following appointments for 2021-2022 be approved by council. Valemount Historic Society Liaison, Councillor Pearson. Willing to let your name stand, Councillor?
Correct.
Northern Health Authority Liaison, Councillor Blanchette and Councillor Pearson. And Village of Valemount Auditor being our KPMG. Do I have a mover? Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Pearson. Discussion on the 3 appointments. All in favor? It's carried. 8.8. Clean Air Task Force meeting summary. A couple of resolutions here. First recommendation that the summary report for the Clean Air Task Force meeting of October 19th, 2021 be received for information. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor MacLean. Any highlights or any discussion?
I think the report was quite well written up. And we're just at the start now. That's why we want to increase our meetings so that we can really get on with the work that we need to do, especially with this season coming. And we're already having breathing problems, so perfect timing.
We've had one air quality advisory already.
Yeah.
All in favor? It's carried. Second recommendation, that the terms of reference for the Clean Air Task Force be amended to permit monthly meetings as required. Councillor MacLean, Councillor Blanchette, any discussion on timing of meetings? Councillor Pearson.
Quick question, is this a committee of council? So they have to be advertised?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the public is always welcome and encouraged to come because it's a committee that we do for the committee, for the entire community.
Yeah.
And we all breathe air, so the more the merrier that come to the meeting.
Okay, just wanted to verify.
Yep.
Further discussion? All in favor? It's carried. 8.9, 2022 regular council meeting schedule. And the recommendation here that schedule be approved by council. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor MacLean, any discussion on the 2022 schedule? Councillor Blanchette.
Just thank you to staff for getting it all organized so that everybody can be aware of when everything's happening.
Thank you. Further discussion? All in favor? It's carried. 8.10, decommissioning of 17th Ave lift station. Couple of resolutions here to consider. Recommendation 1, that council direct staff to seek funding in the amount of $1,085,000 for the decommissioning of 17th Ave lift station. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Pearson, discussion. Councillor Pearson.
Burning question. If 17th Avenue lift station is decommissioned, can we straighten out 17th Avenue? Take the dog leg out of it?
I'm thinking we could.
Or we put a planter in or something, I guess. But
I'm just excited to have one less lift station. Further discussion? All in favor? It's carried. And the second recommendation here, the council approve $350,000 to be budgeted from the Northern Capital Planning Grant in the event that staff is unable to secure funding for the installation of Dogwood Lift Station. To secure funding before the installation of Dogwood Lift Station. Thank you. Councillor Pearson, Councillor MacLean, discussion. All in favor? It's carried. 8.11, proposed amendments to fees and charges. One recommendation involving numerous increases. The council give initial approval to the following fees and charges amendments to be brought back as bylaw amendment. Number 1, solid waste collection fees, an increase of 4%. Number 2, water user fees, an increase of 5%. Sewage user fees, increase of 5%. Water fill station fees increase from $7.55 per cubic meter to $10 per cubic meter. Number 5, sewage receiving station fees, an increase from $22.64 per cubic meter to $30 per cubic meter. Number 6, removal of street vendor business fee, license fee bylaw of $25. And number 5, impound fees, increase from $20 a day to $50 a weekday and $98 a weekend and stat holiday. What's council's wish? Councillor Blanchette moves. Councillor Pearson, discussion. Councillor Blanchette.
So, number 7, I'm worried that the increase in that fee is going to leave those animals in the pound for the village to deal with. Do we feel that that's a high rate? That people are just going to go, oh, well, forget it? What are we thinking?
Comments from staff? Was this benchmarking? Was it?
The fees were increased just to cover public works.
Just
Wages.
for them just to do their stuff.
Can I?
Yes.
And usually a running at large fine would be 3 times that if it's past your first offense. So.
Okay.
Further discussion, Councillor MacLean?
So are you able to get your animal on a stat holiday? If you notice it's missing, or like, how do you avoid having 3 days in there over the weekend?
I think we'd have to review it. I'm not sure right now.
If the animal was identified, or had some sort of identification, I'm sure the homeowner would be contacted PDQ.
So it wouldn't be like, we wouldn't be closed and unavailable for them to.
I believe the bylaw officer is available, but we can double check.
And there's always public works staff that are on doing rounds, even on a staff. Satisfactory?
Yes.
Anything further, Council? Councillor, go to Councillor Pearson and back to Councillor MacLean.
Climbed right up. Yeah, I just want to comment, I mean, kudos to staff for factoring in the increased wear and tear on our infrastructure with our increased population. I think that's a huge factor, and that was a concern I had right from the start, so nice to see that factored in. Thank you.
Councillor MacLean?
I was wondering what was behind the removal of street vendor business license fee of $25, which seems insignificant, but.
Ms. Shepherd?
So we amended the street vendor bylaw, so you no longer require a business license, just your permit fee, so we removed it.
And how much are the permit fees?
It depends on what kind of street vendor permit that you have, so the fees vary from $20 a day for a daily fee. Street vendor 1 is, I believe, $200, and street vendor 2 is $800. But you also required a business license on top of that, and it was a bit tedious, and also it's $25, so we just removed it.
Okay, thanks.
Further discussion? All in favor? It's carried. Section 9, bylaws and policies, 9.1, Village of Valemount Council Remuneration Bylaw, number 853, 2021. 3 recommendations here. First one, that third reading of Village of Valemount Council Remuneration Bylaw, number 853, 2021 be rescinded. Councillor Pearson, Councillor Blanchette, discussion. Procedure before we get to 2 and 3. All in favor? It's carried. Number 2, that sections 3 and 4 of the Council Remuneration Bylaw number 853, 2021 be amended to reflect updated remuneration fees. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Pearson, discussion. All in favor? It's carried. And that third recommendation, the Council Remuneration Bylaw number 853, 2021 be given third reading as amended. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor MacLean, any discussion? All in favor? It's carried. Is there anyone bringing a notice of motion forward? Council reports under item 12. Councillor MacLean.
I only had 3 things this past couple of weeks, the same as the rest of council. On November 3rd and 5th, I participated in interviews with potential CAO candidates. And this morning, I participated in an online meeting of the Columbia Basin Treaty Negotiations Local Government Committee.
Any highlights?
Actually, there were. We went through the BC Hydro reports and had some discussion regarding the format.
Is that the 20-year ERP?
Yeah, and just the format that the engineers sometimes present them in. So that was interesting.
She means well.
Yeah.
Councillor Pearson?
All right, along with the rest of council, mayor and council, October 29th, and November 3rd and 5th, in-person interviews with our CAO candidates. November 2nd, Tourism Valemount meeting. November 4th, a destination marketing organization meeting as we transition from Tourism Valemount as a committee of council into a independent marketing organization. November 8th, another DMO meeting, followed by a rural public network meeting discussing personal health records program that we've been working on. Valemount has been kind of leading the way on this, and it's very progressive in creating a system where each patient has control of their medical information that is integrated within other health authorities as well. So when you travel, there are records. We're creating a way for us to have access to our information. So it's a great group to work with, and we are getting really close to taking it live for the public. So. And earlier today, the Valemount Community Collaborative for the Primary Care Network, we recapped some of our discussions from the personal health records, and then just talked the state of things in the health world.
Councillor Blanchette?
Pretty much the same. The 29th, 3rd, and 5th were the CAO interviews, and then today was the community collaborative meeting. And like Councillor Pearson says, it's getting close. So it's a good team and a lot of good information. So it's a positive thing.
Yeah, the ability to have medical records that transcend health authority boundaries will be awesome. October 27th, had a Trans Mountain discussion with Regional District Fraser Fort George and Thompson Nicola, Regional District representatives from along the line, Highway 5. October 28th, had a Emil Anderson, not LDM, stakeholder engagement at Tijon, discussing their winter operations. October 29th, had a CAO candidate interview with you all. November 2nd, the priority old growth deferral announcement came upon us, and then immediately following had a meeting with VCF manager Craig Pryor regarding that announcement. November 3rd, another CAO candidate interview with you all. November 4th, follow-up meeting with VCF manager Craig Pryor regarding the old growth announcement. November 5th, took part in a Community Development Institute, Marlene Morse, Greg Helseth, getting for a panel briefing for a webinar called Ready or Not. It's put on by CDI. November 5th, met with regional foresters remotely out of Prince George around the modernizing forest policy. This time was focused around the Amanika area. November 5th, again, had a CAO candidate interview with you all. Yesterday, had an old growth deferral announcement call with Ministers Osborne and Conroy. Yesterday afternoon, had a Policy 81 briefing with interim CAO Fleming. And then today, had an old growth deferral discussion with Simp First Nation Councillor George Lampro. Had an investments committee meeting with the Columbia Basin Trust. Old growth deferral briefing with MLA Bond and Highway 16 and 97 representatives. And a discussion with Simp First Nation Councillor Ron Lampro Jr. around old growth deferral discussion. And I promise next council report will have a lot more connectivity within it as that is ramping up over the next couple of weeks with...
You slid the word in so you don't have to buy coffee this time. So.
Had to somewhere. Motion to receive. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Pearson. Any other further discussion on the reports? All in favor of receipt? It's carried. We have time under 14.1 for public comments on items considered by council as part of the approved agenda. I'm anticipating some, so I do have a preamble. Comments and questions will only be regarding an item on the current agenda. Comments and questions put forth must be on topics that are not normally dealt with by village staff as a matter of routine. Comments and questions shall be addressed through myself and answers given likewise if needed. Debates with or by individual members of council or staff are not allowed during this time. No commitments shall be made by council in replying to a question. Matters that may require action shall be tabled to a future meeting of this council. Bylaws and temporary use permits that have been considered at a public hearing but have not yet received final approval shall not be raised during this time. Individuals must state their name and area of residence, just no addresses, just area of residence for identification purposes. Public comments shall be received from the podium for the benefit of those at home. And comments and questions shall be limited to 2 minutes, notified by that timer, beginning after welcome. Are there any public comments this evening? Moving on. We do have a notice.
Just 1 second.
Sure.
So can I,
Yeah, please step up to the podium.
is it on the letter that I wrote?
Yeah, your letter's on the agenda for sure.
Okay, thanks for the opportunity. Regarding the PHO and the vaccine mandates,
Could you just state your name for the record?
I think everybody knows me, Stefan de Tooy, and
Just
see the site.
procedure. Thank you.
Okay.
Welcome.
Regarding the PHO and the vaccine mandates, I just want to make a few short points. Considering my personal experience and after collaboration with colleagues regarding vaccinated patients who developed significant life-altering side effects and damage over the last months, there is no way that I can, with a clear conscience, advise any patient that it is safe to take a COVID vaccine. I ask myself, why were people not informed about these cases? Even some from our own town, before they took a vaccine. These cases were reported. How can vaccinated people say they took an informed decision? Following legal advice in the matter, it is our position that anyone who directs, authorizes, assents to, acquiesces, or participates in these mandatory vaccination policies will be personally liable for all of the harms caused by the policy. Such persons will not be able to avoid personal liability by saying they were simply following the mandates under a provincial health order. The consequences for those who are held liable may include fines, incarceration, payment of damages and costs. I'm here to inform you that you can be held personally liable in your position. Therefore, I want to remind this council that you were elected by the people of this town to serve the people and their interests. How are you serving if you are uninformed? Although I realize that some of you might not understand or agree with my religious opinion, I still have a right to voice it nevertheless. I believe we will all be judged on our actions one day. It shocks me that God's opinion is not considered in dealing with this crisis. There are multiple examples in the Bible and other history books, if you prefer, that shows how God deals with disease. Isaiah 1 verse 17, learn to do good, seek justice, rebuke the oppressor, defend the fatherless, plead the widow, and come now and let us reason together, says the Lord. Matthew 11 verse 19 says, but God's wisdom will be visibly seen living in those who embrace it. I just received some data from Ontario, and at the moment, with their new cases, more than 50% of people that have COVID is unvaccinated. Sorry, vaccinated. Correction. So there are a lot of new data becoming available. I was in a meeting last night with a professor from UBC, and they have 2,000 people in a trial at the moment. And there has been a huge number of injuries vaccine-related. And one of the doctors that were involved were in the meeting and is permanently damaged. So somebody needs to stand up and say something about this. Thank you.
Further public comments this evening?
This is, my name is Jenna Bello-Brzezinski, resident of Valemount. This is also further to the letter submitted by Dr. DeToy regarding mandates. In 2 days' time, it'll be Remembrance Day. Let's not forget that the atrocities of World War II began with citizens being labeled as a health risk to the community. It began with healthy citizens being shut out of restaurants, gyms, theaters, and other indoor spaces. It began with healthy citizens being forced out of their jobs and being restricted to designated physical areas. It began with everyone else turning a blind eye to transparently flawed science. It began with the media and police spurting out government propaganda, and with good citizens willingly following insane leadership. This is how it began, and we all know how it ended. So go ahead and play Remembrance Day on November 11th. Bow your head for those who gave their lives for your freedom, even as you cast down your eyes to avoid the stares of neighbors whose freedoms are being stripped away one by one. All of you who sit up here today have asked to be in a position of leadership for our community. Your silence and your eagerness to shove your minds full of propaganda is shameful. If you will not perform your duty to educate yourself on this matter and to fight for your constituents, then I call on you to resign and make way for someone who will. I am untouched, and my body will remain untouched. We have zero experience with the gene therapy being shot into the arms of the world. Our children are being shot up in critical formative years with zero understanding of how this therapy will affect them. We have safe meds that reduce the severity of this virus, but they are banned by our government. Everyone can spread the virus and everyone can die from the virus, but we must comply. The corruption is apparent and it is at our door now. Healthy citizens are labeled as a health risk to the community. We are being forced out of our jobs, restricted to designated physical areas, and shut out of indoor spaces. We know where this ends. Do not tell me you honor our veterans when you sit back in silence and in some instances cheer on when we go further and further down the road of global fascism. I see each of you in this room, and I will be watching, and I will remember. Thank you.
Further public comment this evening? Motion to receive. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor MacLean. Oh, you have a comment this evening? Your name, please.
Anne McCurdy Carson,
Area of residence.
up on the mountainside.
Welcome.
Mayor Torgerson, council members, and community members. Dr. DeToy. In the past 15 years plus, Valemount residents have had a competent, caring healthcare team. Listed on the reasons to live in Valemount is the security of having 3 resident doctors who want to live here. That was until the very recent past. I am asking you, Mayor Torgerson and councillors, to do your utmost to remedy this situation. I'm asking on behalf of all Valemount residents. So in this global situation, how are other countries faring, and what are their solutions? Norway recently, in September, lifted all restrictions, joining Sweden and Denmark in their policy to lift restrictions. Norway also is pausing on giving any vaccines to the 12 to 18-year-old group until more data is collected. I will list some of the countries that use ivermectin for treatment of COVID. Some regions of Germany, some regions of Japan, Czech Republic, Slovakia, Ukraine, South Africa, Portugal, Peru, Paraguay. There are more than 20 countries that use ivermectin. So my conclusion is that we're not being very broad in our finding of solutions here. Thank you.
One last call for public comment before we receive.
For the record, Michelle Berstrom, lives in the Tijon area, and I am here to support Dr. DeToy and all the people who have opinions concerning this vaccine mandate and the effect that it has on our daily life. I would just like to say that there's a lot of information.
Just for clarification, for the letter that Dr. DeToy has?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to say some clarification for the situation that we find ourselves in here. One person mentioned the fact that we do have a lot of people coming here and staying here because we do have such a great medical team. And I have met people who have said that they are here because we have a great medical team. I'd really like to see that stay, and I'd like to see Dr. DeToy still be our doctor. And I present that to you, and I request, actually, that you go to bat to see what you can do to assist with that, to continue. The vaccine mandates are interesting because, from what I understand, they aren't really even a vaccine. It's a messenger RNA spike protein delivery system. It's not the same as a standard vaccine. And I don't know if a lot of people know and understand that. And I was wondering if we could take a moment, because of the letter you have written, if Dr. DeToy could maybe expand on that and explain that to us, if that would be of interest to Council and Mayor.
It's not the time.
It's not the time to understand that? Okay.
It's not the time for that to happen here in this room.
Okay, all
He's
right.
more than welcome to upload his thoughts to YouTube for everyone to view. There's multiple social media platforms out there for him to use. This room is not that time or place.
Okay. All right. I just thought that clarifying that it isn't a vaccine is a good idea. But I'm sure that we are all here in interest to support Dr. DeToy, and we'd all like to see him stay in the position that he's in. And I hope very much so that you guys will take an interest in, as I said, going to bat to see that that is considered.
Thank you for
Okay,
your comment.
thank you.
Hello, Karen Shepherd. I live out in Tijon, Mount Robson area. I'm also here to support Dr. DeToy. I realize you guys don't have any control over vaccination mandates and all that kind of stuff, but you do have a voice. And I think this is the time to use it. If you can, and you have the ability to go out there and speak on behalf of our town who is left with limited medical care at the moment, I think it's a very important thing for you guys to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm Ross McCurdy, and just wanted to say that I'm also here to support Dr. DeToy, and I represent a few members of my family that aren't here as well, and we're happy that he's here in the Valley and hope that he can continue to practice medicine. And you should use your political voice to help him stay, because the vaccine mandate is actually a little bit unfair and not necessarily founded in science. So, thanks.
Thank you for your comment.
Hi, I'm Lois McTaggart, and I'm from Valemount. I'm here to support Dr. DeToy. I have a lot of health issues, and I've had to go out by ambulance several times. And now it is very scary for myself that I might end up not getting the care and dying because we're shortage of doctors, when he's been totally capable of being a doctor this whole time, and that hasn't changed the fact. And yeah, from a person who has a lot of medical issues, it's very scary that we live 3.5 hours from someplace. And yeah, it's got worse. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Motion to receive, please. Councillor Pearson, Councillor Blanchette. All in favor of receipt? It's carried. Item 15, notice to proceed in camera. Under 15.1, now give notice to proceed in camera for consideration of 4 items per section 91C, K, and 2B of the Community Charter to discuss matters related to 1C, labor relations and other employee relations, 1K, negotiations and related discussions respecting the proposed provision of a municipal service that are at their preliminary stages and that, in the view of the council, could reasonably be expected to harm the interest of the municipality if they were held in public, and 2B, the consideration of information received and held in confidence relating to negotiations between the municipality and a provincial government or a federal government or both, or between a provincial government or the federal government or both and a third party. It's council's wish. Councillor Pearson, Councillor Blanchette, all in favor? It's carried. We'll now be heading in camera, which is close to the public.